English.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to Fuzz. Welcome back to Cobb. Welcome
I
back to
exist.
everybody, I guess. It's been a long time for everybody involved. There was a brief return of Hockey Talk back in January. And after the charity drive last year, which this episode is also still brought to you by the Winnipeg Aurora players on retained salaries. That it's finally paid off. We were just slow rolling it. It didn't feel like any episodes could be done under this subtitle until they actually won the cup. So now we're here. Let's see. I think somebody just yelled at me in Skype. No, that was just Fuzz.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I can't look.
Yeah,
I just looked at the stream. I can't look at the index. Otherwise, I'm just blindingly death white.
I mean, you can. But we are still waiting on Flex. We're still waiting on Dwight to show up. They were out playing disc golf earlier and just haven't shown up yet. But we're going to kick off anyway. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cobb, you mentioned the index. Since you've been gone, there's been a lot happening in this last year or so.
Mm-hmm. I looked at it. I retired a year and a week ago.
Okay. Is that when the post went up?
I believe so, yes.
Did you do like one extra corp season or no?
I don't know if Philly kept me around for another season or not. I didn't pay attention to it.
I don't remember if they did or not.
I feel like LAP would have grabbed you or something. Like somebody would have. I just don't know where you ended up. If
I
you
guess I
had
could
a
check.
if
So
you
if I
had a corp
retired,
season.
I retired in looks like at the end of '66. I can look in the index and see if I have stats past there.
While you look at that, lots has happened. We have an index now. Shout out to my old co-GM Silver. We have trading cards now. Shout out to that team. Or was trading cards like last year?
Yeah.
Trading cards was last year because the charity drive.
I mean, we had
yeah.
player cards, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Cards are
this index is not new to me.
Okay. Cool.
So
Then the only thing that is new is what's new to literally everybody, and that is the player portal, which honestly I've only logged into once at this point.
I still had to learn how to use it.
Because I still have to do
supposed
my. You were supposed to be learning how to use it the last 2 months.
I was supposed to be using it all season to get used to it.
Oh.
I think I opened it twice.
I'm getting called out because I forgot that I updated everybody else's name cards and then not the one on mine. So, oops, sorry.
Shame.
no. Looks like 66 when I retired. That was the end of my player.
Okay.
Because I think that was why I retired, because I wanted to retire like 2 years before that.
Yeah.
But at the last second, Philly kept telling me they were going to play me again, so I wasn't retiring.
Okay.
I was basically waiting until Philly told me I was done on their roster.
Makes sense. I like honestly, I think a lot of people as they're closing out careers try and line that up with their GMs.
Yeah.
From my limited experience at the SHL level, that's the case. I'm sure Fuzz can confirm that. At least frequently, we'll say, because I can think of a few.
I remember G Cool and Luma pinging me like every offseason, like, "Hey, do you need me one more season?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Please."
They're the guys that I know, like, we're super, like, down to stick around as long as needed. Sloth was kind of like that. Like, big team player guys.
Can I retire now? No. Okay.
Please. Just
And that's, yeah, like
let
I
me
said, that was
stop.
basically what was happening at the end with the Forge. Was like, guys, I'm going to retire. And at the last second, Ass would be like, can you play one more season? And I'm like, I guess.
But yeah, we have a player portal now, which Fuzz and I were supposed to be getting used to over the last 2 months. That is where all of the updating player pages, trades, all of the like gamified stuff is going to happen for the at the user level. So like the sim will happen in FHM, all the user interactions with the sim are going to happen here, and then all of the social media as far as Chirper goes, that's all still going to be on the forum, because like that's a place where you're supposed to write stuff, and it's not a place where you're supposed to do math. Um, Portal's pretty cool. I'd have
Whoever
to
needs
do
to do
regression. It's theft, but overall super cool, super useful.
the player side of it is very, very easy, I think.
Oh, it's
It's
a
the
dream on the player side.
it's
I was gonna
the
say you guys haven't rolled anything out yet, right? This is a new feature coming,
Huh?
no, this is
or was it in this season already?
The
no, this
portal
was put out
is
2 days
new
ago.
as of like this week.
Okay,
Yeah, when I was talking to you about that it was coming, it had been like announced,
gotcha.
but it was
Yeah, they had
going to
head off
start this season,
Okay,
starting
they had
with
head
the off
office and general
season.
managers working with it this past season to try and get all the kinks worked out.
gotcha. That makes sense.
So coming into a big Reddit class, especially with just like new users in general, making it sort of easier to approach engaging with the site as a user and as a player, is a lot nicer. Update threads were, and Fuzz can vouch for this as well. Update threads were a menace to explain to new users who didn't have like a helping hand getting into the league.
I was like 2.5 years into the league, and they were a menace.
Yeah.
There were some people, it was very easy to talk to them about what an update thread was, and then there are some where
You could do all of the update thread for them and hand it to them. You'd be like, hey, what here
just copy and paste this
I found all the
into
things
this
that you
thread.
did. Here are these. What skills do you want to update? And like they'll tell you that, and then you hand it to them, and it just breaks as soon as they try and actually post the thread.
They'll be like, all right, I posted it over, and you'll look in their update thread, and it's not at all
Yeah.
what.
Well, and that was like back when I scouted. That was like the easiest way to tell new prospects was did they figure out the update thread or not.
Yeah.
There are some that were great people that just did not know how to do the update threads
Yeah.
and just killed their activity.
Yeah. And also, we're in a like societal from a society standpoint, like not a lot of people have. There he is.
He just
He just
just popped into existence with a weird fucking camera angle.
The best camera angle.
A
Kids,
lot.
if you're trying to be on dating apps, take angled shots from below you. It's really flattering.
You gotta tuck your chin in there too, right?
Yeah, people will tell you that take shots from above you because then they don't see the underchin. Underchin is the moneymaker, baby.
Oh, see, from above, you kind of look like you're on MySpace back in like 2010.
True,
Yes.
true.
But yeah, like a lot of younger people, I would say younger as in like 24 and younger, they might have like laptops for college, but they're not on a computer a lot. They're on their phones so much more. And a lot of people engage with a lot of our recruiting methods on their phones, Reddit on their phones, social media advertisements on their phones again. And going from that to the forum and update threads was just absolutely brutal, and this cuts that down so much. Like, yeah, PTs still exist, but this simplifies so much of the stuff that was a menace on mobile.
even for the low earner, just being able to click activity check,
Oh yeah,
just be like, I'm here. That's it.
yeah. If you're not gonna do PTs and you're not gonna do media, you can actually just min earn in like 2 minutes a week at this point. It's insane.
Deal.
I earned about 40 TP in 10 seconds last night.
Yeah, no, it's just phenomenal. So that should be a huge boon for retention specifically. As far as like
It's-
getting more people, maybe, and like we might get more secondhand through like recruitment, but I don't think it's going to increase the number of people that we see show up that much.
Yeah, I don't think it'll increase the amount of people that show up, but it will increase the amount of people who stay.
Yeah, which is huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the big change. Trading cards have card types now. I think award cards might be new. We just had player cards. I don't know if we had award cards when you were around last, but I know you've seen us posting them.
Awards cards were in the works.
Yeah,
when he retired.
Yeah, because Cobb saw his award card when we pulled it.
Yeah, somebody posted it for me when they pulled it.
And now we've got the 2K TPE Club, which are awesome. Even if I'm not
Those cards
pulling
are super
them,
fun.
they're awesome. What else?
Yeah, I submitted the awards card template, and then like 4 or 5 months later, they finally got it put out.
Yeah, I mean, I get that like they wanted to have enough awards cards to start with, but there's going to be so many awards cards in the end.
We didn't really start making awards cards until 2 weeks before they actually got put out.
Jesus.
It just took a minute to actually get the ball rolling.
That's fair. And there had to be a little bit of like back end support for it, I'm sure.
Yeah, me and Carpy and Lime and Segi, I think, spent about a week fine-tuning the template because I got most of it set up.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was just adjusting the overall number size and realigning some things just to make it a little prettier.
Yeah. Joy, anything else interesting over the last couple seasons? I'm trying to remember.
Not really. Everything's been pretty chill.
It's been like
progression, good GM rulebook changes. It's been really cool to see everything.
Yeah,
that's really the big things. I'm trying to think of the rules off the top of my head. They're like little small rules, like goalies getting compensation, so you can run like 2 like decent goalies at the same time.
Goalie cap, it was like 2 years
financial.
ago, wasn't it?
They changed it to be where if
you get for both
where they
goalies
get-
now,
yeah,
instead
you
of
get
just the back.
50. You get 50% of a goalie's contract up to $3 million, to not count against your budget.
Yeah.
So it made it so you could essentially run with 2 2,000 TPE goalies,
Yeah.
and it would
For
only
the price
count.
of one.
Yeah.
Well, no,
It would actually be cheaper than what it was previously because you wouldn't be paying $500K for a bad backup.
Yeah. Rich mentioned in the chat extended free
extended free
agency, which is fantastic.
Something I had
for
been
it for
lobbying. Yeah.
You and I both for like
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
seasons.
Getting that
Yeah.
done before the draft is like so nice. Getting everything just wrapped up nice and tidy before it actually starts to become like a time crunch for anybody.
Because you had a lot of teams going into the draft thinking, oh, we'll sign these free agents, we'll be fine. And then they spend the draft picks they could have used to trade to fill in the holes
Yeah.
left with nothing because the free agents signed elsewhere.
Yeah.
And
It
just
really
being able
was.
to have some of those questions answered.
It really
helps,
came
especially
in-
for call-ups.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There was always like this big pain point of like when call-ups were butting right up against like free agency not being decided, and like we'd be going to the J draft, not knowing if we had to fill 2, 3, 4, or 5 holes on the roster, because that was all dependent on free agents, and the free agents were taking their sweet time.
The Thunderdome.
The Thunderdome closed.
That I actually knew about.
Which honestly was kind of sad because as soon as the Thunderdome went away, I was like, damn, I kind of wish we had the Thunderdome right now.
I almost Thunderdomed the awards committee. Being on it.
Yeah. Thank God it's gone.
It's good that it's gone.
But like mostly because like it wasn't ever like effectively used. It was just a shit stirring pot.
It was either friends memeing with each other
Yeah.
or people just absolutely dunking on a specific person for
Or like,
even if it was a valid reason, just going way overboard with it.
or it was like people like making Thunderdomes for like things that they didn't have like all the information on, or things that like didn't need to be escalated like that.
Yeah.
Just
So that was always my view of it back when I was around a lot more, was that usually the Thunderdome was just a waste of time.
Yeah, like 95% of the time it was, but every once in a while I was like, man, like this would be like an effective way to like actually resolve this. Like putting somebody on blast isn't bad. It was just you can't trust
Overdone.
you can't trust 400 people with the ability to put other people on blast and expect it to go well.
Yeah, because you have the handful of people who just believe the initial thing, even if the initial thing was wrong.
Yeah.
Then that escalates.
No, I definitely went to Frenchie or Jess or someone. I was like, hey, can you open up the Thunderdome like one last time real quick? I need this.
I kind of want to tell Jess, do it on April Fool's Day.
Jesus Christ.
We just get like 40 Thunderdome posts.
Nah.
We just have National Thunderdome Day, where everyone just gets to air all their shit in one day, and then we lock it back down after 24 hours.
I don't know if that would go well.
It would not go well.
Then we just let the site burn for one day.
There'd be
Yeah, it's like
there'd be a bunch of idiots that would like want to start shit and then like be cowards about it and not start shit until like 11:50.
Yeah.
The purge of the SHL.
The one thing of value would be posted at 11:59,
Yeah, probably.
and it would close.
Um,
And I agree with Blitz. April Fool's Thunderdome would be more interesting than the fake rebrands we see every single year.
yeah.
I'm waiting for one of those rebrands to be real. They just choose to do it on April Fool's.
I would trust me. I would do it if it wasn't for the fact that Carolina is like actually a good branding and like there's no shot of rebranding it.
No. No, I think I would ban you from LA.
That's
Just-
fair.
Bye.
I'll do it when I retire. Let's see. Stuff in the current time frame. Winnipeg, as we mentioned, finally won the cup. They are no longer the Buffalo Bills of our generation. Beyond that, we've got the post-cup trade frenzy, which I think honestly more free agent rights are moving at this point with the signing freeze in the different periods as opposed to back in the day, which is kind of nice.
Marginally, I would agree.
It's
not
huge, but it's
not huge, but
it's definitely up there. So we've got 6 trades that got posted since the finals, or I guess like maybe during the finals when teams were getting eliminated. Hamilton Lap, Hamilton picking up one of the 2 LAP goalies. Fuzz, you want to walk us through that one?
as nice as it is financially being able to run 2 goalies, I forget how high earning
I think he's 800.
the next great one
currently.
was.
He's like 800 currently. I don't know what season though.
I think he's 70. Trying to find him. Yeah, he's 16th,
Yeah.
but he's not all that far back.
Yeah, just like a surplus
he's-
of goalie talent.
You can't run 2 good goalies. And Hamilton was looking for one. It was really difficult because it's not like we wanted to trade him or didn't like him. It was none of that. It was just one of the 2 we have is going to have to be the backup. And Zerg has made it known that he wants to chase the franchise records. And so they're just kind of like Nagolov is the one that of the 2 made more sense to trade. Frenchie, I'm not doing that right now. So Halsey and I talked a bit back and forth. There was no rush because just none of the picks being discussed were in this draft. He was under contract for another season. Like, we had time, but it kind of came together over about a 2-week period. And TNGO and I we talked a number of times about it. So there's no hard feelings there or anything.
Yeah.
So there's nothing behind it besides he gets an opportunity to be a starter. He wasn't going to get that in LA, just unless Zerg decided he no longer cared.
Mm-hmm. Nah, it makes a lot of sense. And like,
so we get two Reddit seconds out of it, I think.
Yeah,
is
and like
fantastic.
higher Reddit seconds coming into like the portal era, like could be like really quality picks.
They'll probably be between 29, 34, I would say.
Oh, you think they're both going to be mid playoff teams?
If they have the exact same season as they did this season, it's 30 and 33.
That's fair.
And so I don't know if they improve enough to win another round than they did this year. They might.
Yeah, the East is weird. The East is weird where it's kind of loaded at the top end.
Yeah, it's when things switch over in the East, it will be a very sharp and quick churn.
Yeah.
But I still think we're 2 to 3 seasons away from that. So I think it'll be 29 to 33, depending on how their regular seasons go. So two mid Reddit seconds. We can move up earlier in the second. We can trade out of it. There's a lot you can do with those 2 picks.
Mm-hmm.
And for a team that doesn't have a first until 76, we kind of needed it.
Yeah, you're taking the TIG approach there a little bit.
I don't regret not having first until season 76. It just makes things difficult.
In addition to that, Hamilton was also trading with New England, and Tampa was trading with New England. The simple one, Tampa trading Bruins to New England on retained salary. The slightly weirder one, Breida Quick going from New England to Hamilton. Hamilton sending over Noka to New England with a first and getting back 2 seconds. So Breida Quick 2 seconds for Noka and a first. Fuzz, explain. Because I honestly can't even piece it together.
Gotta find his player.
I think Sawchuk is 71 or 70, a younger player just not ready to come up, so it'll be really good for New England because that'll be kind of refuel for some of those older people that are kind of aging out after their cup. Not even like too old, but regression hits hard nowadays. Like, it's to pick up. I imagine they're gonna need to swap out like one of their premier like centers who's been on their roster, like a Marcus Yager or a RD's player, Peter Svoboda.
Yeah.
Like Koivu was the odd man out budget-wise with the call-up of JR.
Yeah.
And so I can't 100% explain the pick value.
Mm-hmm.
2 later seconds for a mid-first kind of makes sense when you think that Noka is... Where is he in the class? I need to have my
Couldn't
sheets
tell
up.
you.
I can tell you in just a moment.
I want to say he was like top 20.
Yeah, he's 17th.
Yeah.
So a mid-earning player and a first for a regression 2K player in 2 seconds. It's weird, but it balances out. They need to move somebody.
Yeah.
And so they get back. They can wait another season. They may not. They may have to move someone next off season as well, or just sign someone to a 1-season deal and deal with free agency.
Mm-hmm.
I'll need to look at their extensions because I'm sure they got posted.
Yeah.
But they're not in the budget yet.
Yeah.
I mean, even though Nokazoa is 17th, he's only 60 or 65 TPE from the top 2. So like,
Yeah,
These
he's not super far
that
behind.
that class has really good depth on the top end. I
Yeah.
would say compared to some of the other classes.
He's 100 from being top 5, 50 from being top 10. So he's a little behind,
Oh,
but not
okay,
enough to.
okay.
Yeah. It's also hard to
that's
tell. Like
so that's the difference in the portal. I'm using the player analyzer 2.01,
player
There,
analyzer
yeah,
is dead.
which because this week on the portal there was just so like you
Yeah.
get the massive swings of like 40 TP that you can get in
That's fair.
if you
just
check the Skype chat,
with the
there's the
front of the
3.0.
season.
It's the
Oh
update.
yeah, no, I've got to wear. I think until we're at the start of the season, I think the class rankings matters less.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
with the gap because
Until everybody's playing and like
it takes 40 seconds to get 40 TP.
yeah,
Like,
it's like some people like I haven't done my regression, but I also like I haven't claimed anything. Like it's people might just be like away from their computer for 2 days.
yeah, exactly. It's Tuesday and the portal
So
just
he's-
went out.
He's
48 hours
around,
ago.
but
Yeah.
he's still got a season left, and so just it buys them a little bit of time,
Mm-hmm.
and they could trade him again too. That's decent value of a player to have.
Mhm.
Following that, we have Nola and Texas, I guess.
This is a ridiculously great trade for Texas. I'm just gonna say it.
Go
Yep.
off.
Valor gets such a bad rep for
No reason.
not any great reason.
Yeah,
He talks a lot, but that's not
that's a
necessarily
positive.
a bad thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. And from talking to Joe, we almost did something for him, but we just couldn't because we needed a defenseman, not a forward.
yeah,
And with where he is in regression, it did not make sense to have someone on LA switch positions to bring him in.
mm-hmm.
But there's absolutely nothing wrong with him. And for almost the entire league to have this aversion to him is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And so Texas could have gotten him in free agency without the pick, but
The retained salary is a retained salary.
there is no retained salary.
Okay.
It's just a
But I guess when you don't really care about that second,
Yeah.
just ensuring you get the person, it makes sense.
I-
So at the end of the day, I'd be ecstatic if I were Texas.
What's that do for Texas's chances this upcoming season? Like, they hang around in the standings more than you would expect. Like, they were tied for 7th in the league with Buffalo this year. I think they
I could
largely just get better, right?
I could not tell you why they won 40 games last season. I cannot.
So they I think actually have one of the better depths I think in the entire league.
Yeah.
And they have a really good young core that is just going to continue to get better.
That forward core, yeah, from
Mhm.
Larry down.
And their defense is kind of yoked. Like
Yeah, no.
Hodor is
Their defense is
Like-
actually cracked.
like Hodor may be at like 1400 TP. He's objectively the best defensive defenseman in the league. If you go into the file and you look at how defenses like ran as a parameter, it's really weird. So
His build is very weird, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Dirty Boots is elite in his own right.
Yeah.
And then Gilmore, Valentine, McCarthy, they're just...
Yeah. I mean,
It's not the best defensive core in the league, but it's not bad.
yeah, going off of that, like, they were 8th in goals against last season.
yeah.
You
it's
can
just-
attribute that to Dion as well.
Yeah. Like they were 8th in goals against, and like bottom half of the league in goals scored. Like bringing in another forward, their team's young. Like, how good are they going to be in comparison to the rest of the West? I guess at this point, like, are they better than Edmonton?
There's something wrong with... No.
I think this might be the year that they finally get over like Chicago Syndicate and make it to the second round because they took them to 7 this past season.
Yeah.
And
I could see them getting past Chicago, especially with the... Well, Chicago's bringing in a decent defenseman to replace Fest, but I don't
Yeah.
know what they're losing in the rest of their roster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on how the rest of the roster shapes up, because Chicago always finds a way to be better than they likely should.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're still holding on to some really aging guys in Minamino, Marner,
I
Jones,
know.
Kevin, Nike,
Yeah.
down a little bit. They got good depth, but that top three of Moose, Tesla, and
Mhm.
Corey is absurd.
Yeah.
They've got a great pairing defensively in Pengu and Jammin. So it's really that top unit of theirs that's carrying the load. So if they can do that again,
Yeah.
I think if Chicago's top line pops off, Texas will lose to them.
Yeah.
But if Texas's depth can get past Chicago's depth, I think that will be where that battle might be won or lost.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sleeping on Texas. They're going to be great. But I think it's going to take just a little more time for them to really get to that next level.
Yeah. There's
Because
just
you look
a lot of
at this
stuff in the
roster
way.
compared to the other rosters in the league.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that is a 41-win team where others aren't. Not to knock them. Like, that was a great season they had.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
Like
They have good pieces. They don't have elite pieces outside of Boots.
like
Hold
theoretically, New Orleans and Texas should have been like had inverse type
Yes.
seasons.
Yeah.
Maybe not as bad as New Orleans ended up playing, but like Texas probably should have been a 30-win season.
If
Yeah.
New Orleans had submitted legal lines for the entire season, they would have been swapped in the standings. They got auto-lined in the preseason, and it never got fixed.
Oh,
wait,
no.
wait, they never changed it?
They never changed it.
What? No wonder. Okay.
They didn't
Okay.
notice.
You'd be surprised because I talked to Seven like midway through the season, and I said, like, I was kind of melting down at how ludicrously bad the lines were. So
They didn't notice.
wow, that's
Joe asked me right
brutal.
before the trade deadline to look at him because he was like, "Please help! I need to know why we're doing so bad." And I was like, "All right, I'll look at it," and forgot to. And then after
Oh, no.
the season ended, I looked back and I was like, "Oh no!"
Oh yeah, because they have. I don't even know what they were running. They had like a team that was set up for like front of net high screening team, and then they just like went and, like, for some reason I think it was like cycle or man on man or something ridiculous, where it was mainly about like players like speed and attributes, which was their weakness. That's so brutal.
Yeah, they had a pretty brutal season, and I feel bad for Joe
Yeah.
because he's always been the personnel. With FHM, he's been the personnel guy. He has not been the lines guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with me going to LA, Nick Talk's kind of taken a bit of a break. Last never really being a lines guy, like that initial group that we had in New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
He never really found a good FHM replacement for the group that he had initially, where we won that cup in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But once that group left, I don't think he found a great FHM replacement for the people who were there. And they've always had one of the better rosters in the West that just can't get over the hump. And I can't blame Joe, because if this was back in STHS, he's got lines all day long. But in FHM, that hasn't been his thing.
Mm-hmm. Staying in the West, Winnipeg, post Cup not slowing down, trading for Kez from Montreal for a 76 first, and
Bad Apple.
and Bad Apple on a retained fully retained $6 million deal for 2 firsts and 2 seconds. 2 seconds in this draft. Tampa's Reddit first and the Winnipeg 75 first. Winnipeg has a strategy. We've seen it succeed now, and this is sticking to your guns. If you think about it, like, over time, it's not a sustainable method, but right now it's working, and it looks to be an extension of that. What do you guys make of? I know Dwight and I have gone back and forth a lot about the retained salary the way retained salary works in this league, and the sort of meta game that it has presented. What are you guys making of these next Winnipeg trades?
I mean, at least for me, like, slightly diving into this one, the Bad Apple trade seems. I mean, I guess I don't know the value of a draft pick right now in the league, but it seems like a good, decent trade.
Montreal just got a potential lottery first.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I actually think this is a really good trade for both sides. Like,
Yeah, I was
as
gonna
weird
say
as it
this.
is.
This looks strong because this is clearly an up and coming over 2K TPE player, and really, I guess it's, do you want to gamble in the draft or do you want to take the known asset?
So yeah, Montreal has clearly realized that their group is aging and getting older, so they made the trade for Kez a season or two ago, and it just hadn't worked out. New England, for whatever reason, New England kind of outpaced them, and they realized regression was going to hit them like a truck. So instead of floundering with their team and progressively getting worse, they're just getting assets, and
They
I
did
think
what
you have to do.
they did what LA did right
Yeah.
before the 56 class took a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you
like-
move the people
just-
while they're still valuable to other teams.
It's unfortunate, but they hit that level where it's like, all right, do we keep pushing and may or may not get a cup, or do we cut our losses here and restart?
Yeah, every additional season that you try and make it happen
The harder
costs
it will be to
it
come back
costs
up.
that much more going forward.
Yeah.
Um, and those
it-
costs are like compounding, and like everybody has like a different valuation of like where that point is, like that you break and you can't keep doing it. But I think it's a reasonable judgment. I
feel bad for Montreal,
Yeah,
but they made the right call.
yeah.
One interesting note, though. Calgary will be retaining $3 million of Kez's contract, but Winnipeg will have the full $6 million hit.
So it's if it's only really relevant if for some reason Kez gets traded to another team, then
Yep.
Calgary will then assume the $3 million. So does that just mean
Wait,
that
what?
Calgary? So Calgary on the previous deal with Montreal
Retained
retained
$3
Kez's
million.
contract, $3 million through the season.
Okay,
So
but Winnipeg
so
still gets hit. For
they
6
already
on the
have
cap.
they already have
Oh,
two
because they have too many
retained.
retained. Yeah.
They already
Yeah,
have
they-
yeah.
But
All
that
the
doesn't
tr-
clear Calgary of the retention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
so-
if Winnipeg trades Kez to somewhere else that has an open retention slot,
Then Kez's contract will be retained. Another
Yep.
team will take the hit for $3 million.
Yep.
But Winnipeg has to take it for 6. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
so essentially Calgary is working with $3 less million, I think.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious if they're going to enforce that or if like they're just going to
They've-
forego it and just risk it.
they've enforced it.
Okay.
That's,
I was
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
In the trade approval, they posted that, like, while Winnipeg has already maxed out retention slots and can no longer benefit from retained contract will still be treated as having 50% retention from Calgary.
Okay, so Calgary has $3 million on their budget, pays $3 million when contracts are due, and then Winnipeg pays $3 million, but is actually hit for 6.
Winnipeg will deposit the full 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calgary isn't gonna worry
Yeah.
about the bank deposit. It gets
Okay.
too
Yeah.
confusing at that point.
It's just like an arbitrary like floating.
Yeah.
It's a
It's a tax write-off.
Yeah.
it's an
So,
accountant's
so,
note.
so the
Yeah.
the cap as a whole in the league went down 3 million. The total cap available in the league went down this season.
For Calgary, yes.
No, in general, because Kes is costing 9. Um, questions from cover the Montreal preparing for a rebuild. Interesting question from Valor about the Winnipeg side of things. Are Winnipeg becoming Hamilton 2.0?
No,
No,
not even
No.
close.
no, because what made Hamilton so strong was keeping essentially their entire roster together.
Yeah.
They really took advantage of FHM's chemistry
Mm-hmm.
to overperform their TP season by season by season. Whereas Winnipeg, when they have players kind of on the downswing, replace them with people on the upswing,
Yeah.
using their retention slots to just keep staying at the top and trying to use the TP aspect to carry them over the hump.
Mhm.
I think that's why they've only won one cup in the last 4 seasons. Yeah, I would agree with Liz. They're more like Seattle than Hamilton because they're trying to use the TPE to their advantage, not the system to their advantage.
Yeah. Which, like, I think that it's two ways to get to the same point.
Yeah.
Like, you can
I'm not
can
saying
do
one
it
is
either
wrong.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Winnipeg just
think
going about it differently.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't feel the same as Hamilton. Some of the results looking at like the tables in the playoffs feel like it, but it doesn't have that same effect, and like you can see the cost that it's taking on Winnipeg's assets. Like there will be a point they'll be able to recoup some of it, but like it's going to keep costing them and keep costing them. And like you can watch the available assets in the future diminishing over time to keep the current team where it's at.
They're kind of on a precipice at the moment.
Yeah.
Because they will need to call up Bad Wolf and Dom.
Yeah.
Dom is a forward. So Bad Wolf will probably replace Ethan Duncan. So that's an easy just swap
Yeah.
right out of the lineup. Dom will replace somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's weird because Zoot is also switching to defense. Spoiler alert. He's in France and told me. I think Dexteria is the other guy they're replacing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. They've got so many moving parts. I'm not going to be able to tell you what the heck
Yeah.
is going on. But they have 5 firsts in the next 5 drafts, which is good to work with.
Mm-hmm.
It just will be interesting to see if they keep using the picks to trade for people
Yeah.
or they decide to draft. They're 1 or 2 wrong moves away from being in trouble.
Yeah.
But I think at the moment they're just kind of riding steady.
Yeah. No, they're like they can continue pressing forward, but like eventually they're going to hit that point where like Ace is going to have to look at it and say, okay, this is more than I can comfortably spend. I mean, because Ace is a long-term mindset kind of guy. Like it's how he's ran every team is like building for like 5-10 seasons in consideration. And like he'll be around for that, so like he doesn't want to just like burn up the team and then like have nothing left down the line. So like he'll hit that point that like you ran into, that Adam ran into, that Campen and Roddy ran into in Montreal, where like you're going like this is a comfortable time to scrap it and do it all again.
Yeah, but for the moment, they're doing good of just
Yeah.
rotating the pieces out.
Yeah. And I think part of what will honestly end up pressuring that decision is right now the East is strong and the West was in a sort of turnover period. As the West gets stronger, that question's going to get a little bit more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like when you can say, okay, we're looking at the Western Conference Finals every season, it's an easy decision to make because like that's what we were running into in LAP and what we were running into in Seattle. It's like, okay, yeah, if we, win the Western Conference, get to the finals, and anything can happen at that point. And as the Western Conference gets stronger, we talked about Texas getting stronger. We talked about Edmonton getting strong. Obviously, LAP's on the up and comings. San Francisco's on the up and coming. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to start posing more of a threat, and it's going to start making it a little bit more uncomfortable. Like you don't know how sure you are when you say, okay, yeah, 2 firsts, try and run it back the same as last year. Yeah, 2 firsts, 75% chance we get through the Western Conference Final, 60% chance we get through the Western Conference Final. It gets a little dicier.
Winning the cup last year was probably the best thing. I obviously they won a cup,
Yeah,
but if they had lost, I think they could have potentially gotten desperate
yeah,
and made a move that spent more assets than they could handle.
mm-hmm.
Because that's happened to a number of teams.
Yeah.
Where you're
It
like
puts them in a
so
spot where
close,
they're
so
more
close.
comfortable with the success that they've had.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's like Manhattan kind of dealt with that a little bit because they made the finals
Yeah,
back-to-back seasons, and it. I mean,
Manhattan didn't quite have
They-
as much
they-
resources to like prolong what they were doing.
exactly, and I also think like they performed extremely well head to
Yeah.
head to even get to those finals. Like theoretically, they weren't one of those like mega rosters that are like breaking like they don't have an average higher like I don't think they had a higher than 15,000 or sorry 1,500 TPE when they made those finals
Mm-hmm.
compared to the teams at the top of the league now.
Yeah. Segue out of this into some user questions. Charity Drive is looming. Just showing up reminded me that will be starting back up again. So if you have things that you want to donate, things that you want to auction off, things that if you want to get involved, talk to Jess. Because Charity Drive is a fun time. Maybe one of these days I'll get a charity card. Trading cards we talked about already a little bit. They are free this week, thanks to Cal and the Portal team and everybody. So you can get your 3 free packs a day up until I think Saturday, maybe Sunday. I think Sunday. So yeah, enjoy your 21 free packs. The show will probably get a new sponsor, but also like I want to make sure that I can keep doing the show on a weekly basis because I dropped the ball last time. User questions from Blitz for Fuzz. Looking at IAHF, how is running France different than Team USA? Has being a Fed head changed at all? Because you've been doing Fed head stuff for a long time at this point.
I was co-head with Scruff for 14 seasons
Yeah.
for USA, and I took a few seasons of a break and then took over Austria and moved it to France.
Yeah.
Cleanse ourselves of the Izzy. But
Bless.
We baguette gang.
brand new Discord, everything. Like there's not a trace. He was like our 3rd best defenseman when I took over, and I was like, I'm not having him on the roster. But it is a massive, massive difference.
Yeah.
Because with USA, you don't have to worry about adding people.
Yeah, you get
Like
a
to
ton of
the
people to
Federation.
begin with.
Everybody who joins, they just create as USA if they
Yeah.
were naturally from the USA, and that's about it. And the best thing you can do is help make them want to stay, because when they recreate, they'll stay.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of recreates who will be like, I want to go play here with some friends or there with some friends.
Yeah.
And so USA, and probably Canada to an extent, is a lot of first gens
Yeah.
that you want to try to keep around. And with France, it is all transfers.
Yeah.
It's all transfers. And to that effect, we have 12 defensemen in France's pipeline.
Jesus.
12. Um, we have 2 already playing forward. 1 who's currently a forward who's changing to defense.
Is that Zoot?
Yeah, that's Zoot.
That makes sense.
But we've primarily worked on transfers, so it's a lot smaller of a group to worry about.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to keep track of who's leaving, who's showing up, where they're coming from, all that. It's a lot easier to manage, but it's a lot more difficult in the sim side of things because you don't have as many players to play around with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's changed a little bit from USA outside of that, but the biggest thing is it feels a lot like a rebuild because it's this smaller federation with not a lot of people and not a lot of activity. And it's like, all right, let's bring people in here to help with that, to get it better on a... Yeah, Jess, I'm going to run exactly into that issue. No, I'm going to run into the issue where I have all of them who are capable of being on the roster, but now my bottom 6 is all defensemen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was what we ran into when I first transferred to Ireland on my original player, was we had no defensemen, so I think I spent 3 tournaments playing defense as a center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we, there's a few people who I'm playing at defense no matter what, for a number of reasons. Like, the first transfer class that I had in France, we got Bad Wolf and Enigmatic.
Yeah.
I think one of them agreed, or Bad Wolf agreed when the transfer window had like just closed, so we couldn't make that happen until the next window opened. So it was technically 2 windows back to back, but more or less they came over at the same time. And they're both defensemen, and I want to play both of them together.
Mm-hmm.
I put them in the file like first tournament. Like, you two are going to build chemistry in this file, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Cooper, I'm playing a defense. It would be stupid for me not to. But myself and Ritu are both playing forward. Furious Chicken wanted to play defense, and he was worried about playing defense because we had so many. And so I was like, Trella said he was okay playing forward. Pyro said he was okay playing forward. Like, we've got enough people that are okay playing forward. I told Chicken, I was like, you'll play defense over here.
Yeah.
And we had Bad Wolf, Empoleon, some of the Yukon guys really bugging Chicken to come to France. And so he finally caved in after about like 4 seasons of trying to convince him. Or 3. But it's different because now I have to worry about playing people out of position.
Yeah. You're just
Whereas
getting
in
back to
USA,
your SMJHL days.
Yeah, but it's also a lot nicer because with USA, with as many people as you'll have people leave without ever saying a word.
Yeah.
Because other federations will come in and say, hey, you're USA. It's one of the biggest federations. You're never going to play. Come play over here.
Yeah. But then,
And it's like,
so many people
you
are
were going to
gone.
be called up next season. Like, you're going to be called up right now.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I'm transferring.
Yeah, so that was how I ended up in Ireland. It was basically that exact same situation.
Yeah, that's what Izzy messaged me when I first created. He was like, hey, you're not going to play over at USA. Come play for us. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I transferred to Ireland, and then I think I realized the season I transferred to Ireland, I won gold with the U.S. right before I transferred.
Did you at least wish Fuzz and Scruff goodbye?
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't
think
so.
so.
I had a chance to join Flex over in Ireland, and I took it, basically.
But they're just it also sucks because you can't keep track of everybody. As hard as you try, there was always somebody that I missed inviting to the Discord that I missed having on the sheet. where like I would look at the transfer page and it's like this person transferred out of USA, and I'm looking through my spreadsheet like he's not on here.
I didn't even know he was
Where
there to
is
begin with.
Yeah, and it sucks, and that's part of why I stepped down.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
That's part of why I applied back for Austria/France, because it's more manageable.
Yeah.
Managing the big federations is extremely difficult.
Yeah, I believe that. You mentioned recreates knowing that they'll stay in places. Would you like to talk with Jess about how you abandoned Sweden for baguettes after recreating to Sweden and definitely staying?
Well, I I wanted to play with Sweden because I want to play with you. I want to play with Jess, but I don't know. I wanted to go back to international management,
Yeah.
but I wasn't. There was one period that opened up. I was like, I think I might. I think I told Jess I was thinking about it, and I ended up not doing it that time. But
Yeah.
then the second time around with Austria, I was like, I think I really want to.
Yeah.
And so
makes
yeah,
sense.
I talked with Jess behind. I was like, I really, because at that point I still hadn't. I don't think I had made the Sweden roster yet.
Yeah.
And I think it was still going to be a minute before I did, because Sweden is now one of those bigger nations. It was one of the smaller nations that turned into the bigger nations because they have so many great people there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, makes sense. It was just the question that she asked, and we had to get to it. Last question for you specifically from Shawnee. We talked about a lot of other Western Conference teams. How happy are you with the direction LAP is taking right now? Does the window fit what you had in mind when you initially started everything, trading away all the 56s? Has any, like, if it changed, what caused it? What's going well? What went wrong? Anything that you can spill?
it was incredibly difficult starting that rebuild
Yeah.
because it meant trading you. It meant trading Fest, Leafs, Kaya,
Mm-hmm.
just all these people that
Yeah.
I did not want to leave LA, but
Yeah.
we
Jeff,
didn't have
Gates.
Ritu
Yeah.
at the time. Yeah, Gates. Um, there's so many people that I didn't want to leave, but I knew because of the trades that we had made leading up that if I didn't, it would have been a much longer rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to contend. I think another team broke it down the season before.
Yeah.
I can't remember if this was in time with Manhattan or whatever. But someone else had just rebuilt. And so we didn't get a lot of the top tier picks
Mm-hmm.
back for our players. Like Montreal is in a better spot than we were. San Francisco, when they started their rebuild, better spot than we were. And I had no idea what the window was going to look like.
Yeah.
I just knew
It wasn't
that
now.
window had closed. That window had closed. And I could try to keep it open, but we've seen a number of times different teams being like, oh, we can keep it open, and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a difficult decision to make. And then it was just a point of who and when can we draft to build around.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up with
Rich
remember.
and Frenchie.
Rich and Frenchie. Toivo was really
Yeah.
it was Toivo, then Rich, then Frenchie.
Mm-hmm.
Toivo and Rich, I think we both got it 10. If I
Rich
remember
was
correctly.
higher, I thought.
Rich, you traded up to top 3.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I was so surprised that Rich didn't go 1 overall, personally.
trying to remember who was in that draft. Was it 67?
Or was ACAP?
ACAP was 5 overall.
Oh yeah, we traded up to 4.
Super pumped to grab ACAP.
No, that was
In that same
68.
class?
68 was
Yeah, Rich was 67.
yeah, Rich is 67. Bruins was also 67, and yeah, Bruins was also 67.
Yeah, Toivo was 11.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
So
that,
I remember
that was crazy.
we were in that draft. I can't remember. I think we traded out.
Yeah.
Um, I think we initially traded out, and then we were watching the draft happen, and Toivo just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. Oh no, we were at 15. We were at 15,
Yeah.
and Toivo kept dropping and dropping and dropping, and I went to Kez at 11, and I was like, I'll give you 15
Which
and 2 seconds. I think that's what it was. I was like, for
Jesus.
11, and he was like, yep, and just because I was like, we knew he wasn't gonna get that much farther,
Yeah.
but I was like, if he's gonna fall this far,
Yeah. What draft was RM? Because I think
67.
that was back to back, like in the J draft too. He fell to the like top of the second round in the J draft, and I was like get me up there. I have to get him.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, in 67 we trade up for Rich.
Yeah.
I think we knew he was gonna be at 4.
Yeah, because
It was usually when we make.
because it was Evoc 1, it was St. Clair at 2, and then I think it was Trips ended up going with the first gen, like the really active first gen of Daniel Swift at the time, and then Rich fell to 4, which
Yeah.
had no business of falling to 4.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same thing when my first draft for Montreal, Carolina. Rich fell to 4.
Yeah.
It was the same sort of deal. He should have been number 1, but there were a few things that made him not. Like Minnesota being 1 for Evoc. That made sense. There
Yeah.
a lot of ties there. St. Clair to Edmonton. That I don't remember how I don't remember what the reasoning for that was, but we weren't going to question it.
What for Crazy Mojito? Oh, Crazy Mojito was with Edmonton, was a career lifer with Edmonton. It was just ties to that. They probably could have traded back and still gotten him.
That's right.
So that's the main reason why he went to.
But so I think at that point we had the info that Rich was going to be a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to jump Hamilton just to make sure, because Rich was somebody that he was a Toronto almost lifer, and then Toronto blew it up, and we traded for Rich, and he kind of had a resurgence with LA,
Mm-hmm.
with Bobby Lane.
Yeah.
And I remember having a few talks with Rich about LA specifically, and he had really enjoyed it. And so I knew with his new player, if it was possible, I wanted to bring him back. And especially with having drafted Toivo 2 seasons before, that's a good duo right there, Toivo and Rich. To
Yeah.
just build around. I was like, there's my 2 core players right there. I'll figure the rest out. And so that worked. RM went to Calgary at 7.
Yeah.
I think
He just always slips. It's unreal.
it's mostly because he's a little laid back. I think people are also expecting him to go to Hamilton at
Yeah.
5. And so when he didn't go to Hamilton at 5,
Nobody was prepared
There's
to
a-
jump on it.
yeah. And Texas took Hodor,
Yeah. Makes sense.
which made sense, yeah. And so Calgary was just like, this is the best fit for us.
Yeah.
But then I remember trading for 3 in Frenchie's draft, really wanting to get Frenchie. And then I had me and Trips talked for like 4 days because he was going to pick Frenchie at 2. And I was so upset because I was like, I don't know who else I'm comfortable taking at 3.
I think I remember that weekend.
And then something happened in the rookie Discord, and Trips was like, "I'm not gonna take Frenchie."
Jesus.
'Cause I think it was something that like Frenchie and uh, Jax had a disagreement, or something along those lines. It wasn't the rookie Discord. Okay, I'm remembering wrong, but something happened. I don't think Frenchie was at fault.
No.
No,
I remember. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember like finding out that like he wasn't the pick at two.
Yeah, big. Yeah, everyone was on good terms. Like there wasn't bad blood,
Yeah.
but it it was at one point Trips just being like, Frenchie's not the pick. He's yours at 3. Which is a big sigh of relief.
Yeah.
ACAP would have been the pick at 3 if Trips had taken Frenchie.
Yeah.
Like those are the two guys that was like, one of them will be there at 3. I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I love ACAP, I would have been happy taking him at 3. But
There was
I also
like
kind of needed
a
refresh of
long period where I remember you talking to me about trying to trade for 2 top 5 picks.
I I wanted to. I think it would have been warranted, considering it was those two specifically. But I think it just
It was gonna be
price-wise
pricey.
didn't make sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was going to be way too pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got Toivo, Rich, Frenchie, and Atox. Like that second rounder
Mm-hmm.
at 22. He's killing it. He's absolutely killing it. And it's those second round picks that really help speed things up.
Oh, 100%.
G-Cool.
Yeah,
Canes.
Canes. Yep, both of them. Like he just retired G Cool's number and he got picked in the 30s.
Yeah.
But it's those second round picks that it's the one draft though that really kind of solidified what our window was going to be was 69.
Nice.
Nice.
I remember everyone traded for picks in this draft thinking it was going to be this big draft because of the funny number.
Yeah. Sex number.
And it ended up not being that big of a class.
I mean, the top of the class was Agent Smith and Ritu and Artemis.
Okay, it was Carlson's, which is huge as well. So like top 5 were
for
Nick,
really insane from the recreate standpoint.
Yeah.
Tox, Agent Smith, Ritu,
we also have
Carls.
What was really funny is that the 69 draft like is pretty much all of the Tampa Bay Barracuda like peak people. You have Rankle in it as well as Fitted, and you have
MCP.
Romanoff, MCP, like legitimately like.
There are a lot of Tampa guys in that draft.
Yeah, it was predominantly like Tampa recreating at that point, which was really funny.
Chocula at 8.
But as like
Bonk.
as rookie creates go, it wasn't a bad draft by any means. It was a solid draft. It was just a middle draft for like everyone's expectations. Like,
Yeah, for everyone's expectations, it was a much smaller draft.
Yeah.
like
than what was
this is
expected.
this is something that people have been building up since the 40s,
Yeah.
like as a draft class.
The Portal class is actually what the 69 class was expected to be.
Yeah. But we got Ritu at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I don't remember how those trades worked out. But we got it to 3 for Ritu. Nick
You traded with? Did you trade? So
traded
I know.
with Hamilton, I think.
So you traded with Hamilton, and then I know really early on, like a week out, like Winnipeg traded up for 5
Yeah.
or something like that. And
Oh no, we had 5.
did you
traded them-
trade it for 5? And then
We traded 5 and a second for 3.
Okay, that's what I remembered.
And then Hamilton traded with Winnipeg.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we took Ritu. I liked Nick. I did not expect him to go first.
Mm-hmm.
Me either.
Love him from my New Orleans days, but was not confident about his longevity. He's had some really long careers before, but I also know he has not been as invested.
Yeah.
Or at the time, I was worried about him being not as invested. Smith was someone that was on our radar, but Dwight took him at 2.
Yeah.
But Ritu was someone who I talked to who he wanted to set franchise records. He wanted to be a one-team guy, stay around. And so...
Yeah, he didn't get that shot
in
at
the-
all in his last player.
Yeah. And so when him and I talked, he expressed like he liked being in LA. He'd be very happy coming back. So we just made it happen. Like, oh, I love Nick. I absolutely love Nick. He's a great, great person. But I think after Nick Williams, I think he had another player. I can't remember for certain.
That sounds correct.
But I think he had another player that didn't last a whole long.
I think he had a player that got auto drafted back to NOLA or something like that, and then
I think you're right.
he had I don't know if it was life or just chilling.
I think he was just chilling because I think he had gone so hard with New Orleans that he wanted a break.
Yeah, Zidane was that early
Jean-Luc,
QCC
that's
pick.
what it was.
Yeah.
And so I loved him,
Or St. Louis,
but I would have been comfortable taking him where we took Napoleon, but not at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He's proving me wrong.
Yeah.
And I love that. But at the time, that was the thought process. So we were happy with Ritu. We were close to doing Carl's instead.
Yeah.
Chocula was another name that it was so hard.
Yeah.
To pick between Ritu and Chocula. Because Chocula still talks in LA.
Yeah.
But there was something about talking to Ritu that just made it hard not to take him. We tried. I think we tried to trade for
8.
7.
Oh,
And
yeah.
7 and 8. Edmonton did not want to trade away from 8. San Fran didn't want to trade 6. It would have been too expensive for 5. So we tried with 7 and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
So we just kind of had to concede Chocula to Edmonton.
Yeah.
But then later on, Empoleon, we trade with San Francisco, if I can find that trade. Of course, now the site's going to take 8 years to load. We trade them our 72 first and 2 seconds for 19 and 22. Which realistically was probably a little bit of an overpay. But we came out of that with Empoleon and Zerg.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not regret that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 2 very big pieces of what we're building around right now. And we almost traded up to take Shawnee.
Yeah.
Who he ended up with us anyways. But I remember he reached out to me as the draft was going on. Like, during the draft, he is barely above 155.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he was very, very low. Everybody's trying to get me to say Zerg's name.
I mean...
But Shawnee...
Just call him Gregor.
It's
a weird
Zagors.
It's a weird name.
His first name is Gzagors? Or Gerzagors?
Gors.
You can Google Translate. There. You guys go listen to it. Listen to it. I'm not doing it. But I almost traded, because I think I was talking with Montreal.
Yeah.
We actually had a deal ready with Montreal for 29. And I was like, I just need to see if our guy's still there. And Edmonton took him at 27. And I was like, never mind. Um, so we didn't end up trading for him. And the process to trade for Shawnee was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that right now. It was ridiculous. Because it only took one season for AHFFO to reach out and be like, hey, Shawnee's available. And at that point, he was still like 36th in the class.
Yeah.
And HFO was like, yeah, I want a first. And I'm like, you're not giving a first for a guy in the 30s. And I was like, that's it. I'm not doing it. And it took a few more weeks. And he was like, okay, what about a second? Or what about 2 seconds? I'm like, I'm not doing that. So it took a little bit of back and forth. And it ultimately ended up, yeah, it was really weird. Because I was like, after one season, I'll give you a second for him. And he's like, no, I want a first. And I'm like, if you think that highly of him, why try trading him? If you think he's worth that much, just keep him. But it ended up just working out. He was like, fine, I'll do a second. And I don't regret that either. Because now Shawnee and Napoleon, they're going to be on the same line for ages. And I didn't go into the rebuild with an idea of when the window would be. I just went in knowing that was the right time to do it. Let's see what happens. And then Manhattan tore things down, and Silver became available.
Yeah.
I was like, we need a defenseman. I love Silver. Perfect addition. RM became available from Calgary. I was like, he fits our window. Same season as Rich. He fits right in there. And those are the 2 guys that we've added by trade.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the rest we've drafted. You came back from Seattle. Fess is coming back from Chicago.
Yeah, a French you didn't want.
But it's slowly come together, and right now it's just a waiting game. We have all the pieces that we need.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of waiting for the 67, 69 classes to get up to their closer to peak seasons.
That plus about 9 or 10 seasons. Wally's question, season 78, who wins the cup?
Season 78. That's a good question. I could see Texas being in that conversation.
Tampa Bay Barracuda.
Yeah, I was just gonna homer pick Philly.
Tampa, I could see.
Fingers crossed.
I'm looking. My biggest complaint about the budget sheet is it took away the positions of the prospects.
Yeah.
Because you just trade away Bruins, which makes that window more difficult. Because really, the core, looking at Tampa, is that 69 class. Smith, Liebman, Fitted.
Yeah.
Michigan Anonymous is active, but not high up in 65. And then 64, younger, they're all just kind of existing. You have good defensive build around ACAP, MCP, LeBron. You have a good goalie in Sunika coming up.
Yeah, no, he's kind of cracked.
You have Sizz.
Yeah.
Hockey fan is close.
Chilling.
Tomatoes a little behind.
He has 100 that is post claims. That's good.
Okay. So that he's
so he's not. Yeah, he's
not as far behind as it looks. Okay.
Yeah.
Trella's a great piece. JJ, trash. Like there's some good pieces there. I'm not sure I'm ready to put Tampa in that 78 conversation.
Well, 78, wouldn't that be when a majority of our players would be 1300 TP or higher?
Your 69 class would be right up there
At 2K.
at 2K, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
to 1800. And then everyone else would be above 1100, I think, on our roster.
yeah. So you'd be right up there.
We're going to have budget problems at that point.
Yeah.
At that point.
I'm worried about LA's budget problems, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Texas, I think, is in that conversation. San Fran is in that conversation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With Jimmy, Lore, Carls. Boot is actually earning. Spidey, Alaska, Bailey.
No, they're gonna
They're-
be a force to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about this division.
Yeah.
So, I'm
It's,
glad
it's
I only have to
always
play
this
them in the
division as a whole.
It's always this stupid division.
I'm glad you get to knock them off first, so then we don't have to face them ever. So keep up the good work.
Relevant to that, Wally also wondering, relocate 2 teams, promote 1 team, relegate 1 team.
Oh,
Fuzz, clean up the division.
2 teams that relocate. Let's get relegated. Like it's promoted. See, I don't think this division is the relocate.
That's-
Edmonton, Calgary, and LA, you cannot move. Those are 3 that you cannot move. Seattle, maybe, but I think something dire would have to happen.
Yeah.
I think they're entering their first or second legit rebuild. The first being the expansion draft.
Mhm.
San Fran, I think, has been around long enough. Minnesota is probably my rebrand if I'm picking or relocate.
Yeah.
That's one of the relocate teams for me. It just there's something about I love Minnesota. I feel like they're in the Montreal militia conversation.
Yeah.
The second relocate team, I don't think there is one. I don't think I could pick one,
That's fair.
even if I was forced to. I think every other team, it makes too much sense to keep them where they are
Yeah.
for multiple different reasons. Now, for relegation, you could probably relegate Manhattan; they still wouldn't win the cup.
Yeah, see, I was gonna relocate Manhattan, so
think-
relegate would work too.
I think Manhattan, the branding works. It's a good branding. It's a good location. They're just are doing a very successful job of losing a lot.
Yeah.
They're consistent, that's for certain.
So I have faith they'll be back as a contender, but for the moment, it is rough.
Yeah.
The promoted team is difficult.
Don't you do this to me.
It's difficult because am I doing this in terms of branding or current roster? Because if branding, it's easy, Caroline. Current roster, I don't know. That I don't know. But I think I won't name names, but there's a small handful of the JGMs, the JGM duos, I think would really, really thrive in the SHL.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as a knock to the other JGMs. But with Gibbles, he was a great JGM.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really succeed in the SHL. You can make it's happened in real life. Nick Saban is the best college coach there's ever been. He did not do well in Miami.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a few that would be really good SHL GMs, but I don't think I could promote anybody, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
If anybody else has any answers to that question.
Yeah. Relocate Mini. Relocate Texas, I think. I just have never vibed with the Texas branding.
I've never had any strong feelings about it.
I could see
but
relocating Manhattan, like, honestly, even just like Brooklyn. Another team that like the branding's just kind of relegate. Who was it? Relegate Atlanta. No.
Why Atlanta?
Because I think that Hot Dog and Glutes have. They are a duo that I would trust to develop users in the SMJHL that hasn't already done that.
I can agree with that.
And then promote Maine.
Yeah, being a JGM is so different than being an SHL GM in regards that being a JGM, it's about engaging people and getting them familiar with the site and just really cultivating that activity.
Yeah.
I mean, the same still exists as an SHL GM a little bit, but it's more or less continuing that and not alienating people.
Yeah.
So, like, the turnover is just completely different.
Mm-hmm.
It is insane, the turnover in the Jays.
Mm-hmm.
But you are spot on. It's more about developing.
Winning a J Cup is like 5th on priorities.
Yep.
Yeah. There's so many other things that you should be doing before worrying about winning a cup in the J. Winning the cup should be the side effect.
It's an accident half the time.
Yeah. Winning the J Cup should be the side effect of the things you're doing right.
Not even, because if you're doing everything right, you're never going to have a stacked roster.
Yes and no.
I mean, if you hit and retain all of your draft picks every season, then you're likely not going to have a very
I think there are outside
roster at any specific point.
I think there are outside factors like kind of draft class sizes for JGMs, like retaining those rosters, and then the ultimate forcing them to those players to be called up to the SHL teams. So like you don't have those like core classes all together.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. The point I was making though is you want all of your players, all of your users to be enjoying themselves, because the more they enjoy themselves, the more they're going to want to come around the site and do more things.
Yeah.
And the more they come around the site and do more things, the better the player is going to get. The better the player gets, the easier it is for you to win with that player. And it's a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And so the better that you are, and the better job you do at getting all of your users to do that, the easier it is to win a cup.
Yeah.
Now, you could do the best job in the world. You're still going to have people who don't come back, who don't respond to messages, who don't do this, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that stuff's just out of your control. But winning a cup is often a byproduct of doing things the right way in the J.
Yeah. Like, you're not going to do it by like you have to do things the right way to like be in that position in general.
Yeah.
But that's not like it's not a guarantee, and B, there are ways to be in that position without doing things the right way.
Yeah. Agreed. But it's also why some of those JGMs don't do well in the SHL,
mm-hmm.
and why some SHL GMs don't do well in the J.
Yeah.
Because it's a completely different job. A completely different set of tasks, even though you do more or less the exact same thing in terms of the roster and the budgets.
Yeah.
It's entirely different.
Any other relocate, relegate, promote takes?
Oh, where are you moving Minnesota to? The dominant hockey city of Phoenix, perhaps?
Uh, Madison, Wisconsin.
I think I would move it to Ohio.
Oh yeah, baby.
There it is.
Already a fan favorite.
I think it makes sense. The Midwest doesn't. Midwest has Chicago and Detroit,
Yeah.
but I think the issue is I think Minnesota deserves a team. I think it needs a breather from the SHL
Mhm.
because of the brandings that have been there.
Yeah, that's fair. We did go from Indian to
Yeah.
white people with affluence. Kind of like a
Jesus. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
play.
Dwight out here with the heaters.
I don't. How long have you been sitting on that?
Since the rebrand happened.
Oh my god.
That was the whole reason he asked that question.
It's been a build-up. It's taken a while for it to be applicable.
We'll skip. We'll skip Frenchie's questions for now. We'll hit them next week. Top 5 trading cards we'll hit next week. It's been an hour and a half. I don't like coffee because it's super bitter and doesn't taste good. I also don't like hot drinks. Piper.
I love the smell of coffee. I hate the taste of it.
Long neck cat is nowhere to be found. Dwight, what's up with tomato pie?
Tomato pie. Well, Crazy Tomato, great pick, great user. No, tomato pie. It's delicious. It's just the supreme food. What can I say?
I'm gonna need more clarification on this. Yeah.
Are you talking about pizza?
Yeah, tomato pie. So it's a generally like a northeastern, I would say. My parents, they're from upstate New York, and like my favorite food, like it's kind of nostalgic because whenever you go back to visit, there are like foods associated with the areas, and it's tomato pie. Wait. In that area.
Wait. You're saying it's one of your favorite foods. I have known you since we were 12, and I have never heard you talk about tomato pie once in my whole life.
It's because you can't get tomato pie in the area.
Doesn't mean it wouldn't come up.
And the first time I had tomato pie was like 4 years ago.
Okay.
And it was.
I guess
amazing.
that counts.
It was amazing. It was amazing. But yeah, tomato pie. It's the bee's knees.
Cat.
Seven, I'm gonna one up you. Give me just a moment.
But not all tomato pie is created equally. Find a sauce you like.
Wait, are we all
Because that's
doing
like
this?
a primer amount. They're getting Piper.
Yeah, we
Animal
tried.
time.
We tried.
It's
Yeah,
animal
give
time.
me a minute here.
Beat you guys.
What I've started.
Get wrecked.
Can you see her? Yeah, you can see her.
What a cutie. What a cutie.
While we bring back the pets, Chevy in the chat had asked what mobile game is on your phone. What are you playing right now? As our actual closing question. I recently reinstalled Magic Arena and have been playing just an absolute ton of Magic the Gathering recently. But nothing other than that. Got a lot of games, but my sister made me get back on Pokemon Go. Mobile games. Dwight Cobb.
I pretty much just play RuneScape on my phone.
That's fair.
That or emulate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a boring old man, and I don't have any games on my phone.
I'm boring. I'm playing a lot of solitaire.
Like just old school, like.
Legit solitaire.
Yeah, just
All right.
standard solitaire.
The solitaire and Tetris are the two games I've been playing the most on my phone lately.
Tetris is bitchin'.
Fair.
I miss the old Blackberries with the little wheels in the middle. Brick Breaker was the shit. All I gotta say.
Cool. Then I think that covers everything. We should be back next week. Thank you for coming out, Fuzz. Thank you for coming out, Kyle.
Of course.
Nice to
Don't
be back
worry.
with everybody else.
I need free money.
Yeah.
Don't worry. If I'm not back next week, you'll be back to the 1 hour length. But the 2
Nah.
episodes I've been on in the 3 years have been 2 hour length.
Fuzz, I don't think
That's
we've gone less than
normal
90
for
minutes ever.
The show. It's like there's been like twice where it's been like under 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dwight,
Yeah.
the 2 times that I've been on, it's been 2 hours.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But I have to work in the morning, so we're gonna call it. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. I appreciate everybody that showed up and talked to Jess about Charity Drive. Have a good draft weekend. Actually, that's not for. Yeah, that's this weekend, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
the SHL.
Have fun.
Sunday,
Have a good weekend,
Sunday,
everybody.
be there.
We'll recap that next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Dwight,
What up?
Discord DMs.